Morning, everybody. It's Nick. I've just done a vlog on mental health and some of the stuff I do to look after my mental health. And one of the things that interestingly, I talk a lot in the vlog about making a cup of tea. Excuse me. And I've just gone off to make a cup of tea. And the thing that hit me is, it's all very well and good, actually, me talking about these things that I do to look after my mental health. And I'm not invalidating that at all. It's really important what I do for me. And this isn't some comparison or competition. But I wanted to talk about one aspect of mental health, which I don't think is talked about enough, actually. So many years ago, I read a book, an autobiography by a GP. And this GP was talking about a lot of the patients, and he came up with this phrase called shit life syndrome. So a lot of the people that came to see him that were struggling with mental health issues and generally struggling with life, he would argue weren't actually physically or mentally ill. They basically had what he called shit life syndrome, because their lives were really, really difficult. And then following that, I was listening to a program on Radio 4. God, what is it about Radio 4? So talk about what I do to help my mental health. I really love Radio 4. I find it so soothing. There's something really soothing, and I don't know whether it's the calmness and the consistency of the voice, or just the very, very real life and seemingly simple but actually terribly important stories that they share. But to the point, there was a girl on there, and what she was saying, and it really hit me. She said it's really difficult to look after your mental health when you're basically living a shit life, when you are struggling to put a roof over your head, when you are struggling to put food on the table, when you are struggling to keep warm, and when you basically live somewhere really shitty and survival is a struggle. And that really hit me. And I thought, there's something very different there, because that person is not broken. Sorry, my dog is just, honestly, he just comes and goes as he pleases. I was about to say he thinks he's Lord of the House. The reality is he is Lord of the House. Look at him, he's here. Yeah, he is Lord. Anyway, back to what I was saying. And I would say I think she's right. She's not fucking broken. She's really struggling, and there's no wonder she is anxious and depressed and all the rest of it. She was talking about a whole host of things. She's got kids, she's living in poverty, she's struggling to keep a roof over her head. The roof she does have over her head is really not the kind of roof that you or I or anybody else would want to live in. And I remember those days because, people go on about, a lot of people, including my husband, had the most amazing time at university. And I look at my university days, and yeah, some of it was amazing, but some of it was really shit. And I'll tell you why some of it was really shit was because I didn't have any money. And I had to live in real hovels. I mean, one place I lived in was just, honest to God, it would be condemned now. It was, it got mould everywhere. It just stunk. And my flatmate, who was gorgeous, used to get up in the morning and put the gas rings on in the kitchen, because that was the only way we could keep warm. And when we came back after one Christmas, we walked in the flat and it just stunk of gas. God knows how long the gas leak had been going for. So there we were, up in the northeast, in the middle of winter, in a mouldy flat with absolutely no heating. And I don't think the landlord would even bring us any heaters, and we had to go out and use what tiny amount of money we had to buy some fan heaters. And then I think the other thing I remember is eating baked beans on toast 7 days a week, because that's pretty much all you could afford. So, I'm not pretending to understand the lives of these very difficult lives that a lot of people find themselves in. And what does annoy me is when I hear a lot of the rhetoric around, well, they chose to have kids. Oh, well, they're living on the social. And I'm thinking, it's not that simple. It's not that black and white. And I know it's not because, I have experience of that in my family. And I'll give you an example, and this is what makes me see red. So, and I am passionate, and this is us as a society failing, and it does need calling out, and we do need to face this. So I went on an amazing, it was a very, very humbling experience. It was a mental health day, and it was a free day, and it was helping people to deal with mental health issues and trainers and to make us aware of it. And I turned up, and I have to say, I was a bit embarrassed, actually. I was a bit embarrassed because basically, I turn up, I'm very middle class. I'm not, I'm from a working class background, but the reality is, I'm well educated. I've had a very well paid job. My husband's got a very well paid job. We have a really fucking nice life, right? So I turn up to this course with my sister in our shiny sparkling car and our shiny sparkling clothes, and I am humbled. I am humbled by the people that are on that course and the stories and the experiences that they are sharing of abuse and prejudice and life experiences that I am lucky enough not to have to be able to imagine. And there was one girl there that absolutely broke my heart. So she'd come to the course because she was struggling with her mental health. And she was quite rightly struggling with her mental health because she was definitely having a really fucking challenging time. She didn't have any childcare. She couldn't get anyone to help with her kids. She had 3 young kids. So the lady who was running it was like, don't worry, there's loads of room. The kids can play at the back of the room and so forth. And, that, it wasn't like they were listening to everything because the room was big enough and they had a little play area for them, which I thought was gorgeous. So this young girl was so committed. She came and her kids were absolutely gorgeous. And they did go out and play at the back of the room. And you really didn't know they were there. And she was gorgeous. And what really broke my heart is she was a young mum with 3 children through no fault of her own that she was on her own because her husband had decided to fuck off and go and do something else. And I don't think had thought about paying the childcare. And I think I do think that as a society, that is not okay that we allow that to happen. And it's not about it being the husband. It would be the same if it was the man or any of the partners. Once we have kids, we all have that responsibility to look after those kids. So there she was struggling. She clearly grieving the fact that her husband had left her and trying to find a way through to be able to bring her kids up. And the person who would have helped her would have been her mum. But sadly, her mum was in a hospice dying of cancer. And she didn't have the goddamn bus fare to get on that bus and go and see her. Now that is shit life syndrome. And that is something we are all responsible for. So I don't think that she was broken at all. I think she was having a perfectly reasonable response to a set of horrendously unreasonable circumstances. And the love and the care and the compassion. I mean, she just impressed me beyond words. She was a beautiful soul, and she wasn't taking the piss out of anybody. So I do get upset when as a society, we cannot make sweeping judgments about why people find themselves in difficult decisions. We have to look at not what is wrong with them, but what has happened to them. And what is our part in it as a society that we are allowing things like that to happen? And can we please stop airbushing people and say, well, they're living off the social or whatever it is. Some people maybe, but some people are really struggling. And if we can help, we absolutely should help. And I think that's the thing I wanted to add to the whole mental health debate is it's not... So I struggle with my mental health for lots of different reasons, but it's not because I've got a shit life syndrome. And that doesn't invalidate what I suffer from or the fact that I need to look after my mental health at all in any way, shape or form. But what I would say is there are very different drivers for why people have mental health issues. And we have to look at those drivers. And some of those drivers are not within their control to be able to resolve. And that is where collectively we need to be doing much more to help. And you can just tell how passionate I feel about this. And I feel really passionate about people who are the forgotten people in our society that we do turn away from and we don't want to really read the true stories of, if we're honest, because it's really, really hard. And I could cry now thinking about that day. And even now I'm thinking, do you know what? I might reach out to somebody to see how she's doing, to see how I can help. Because maybe we just all need to open our eyes. And sometimes it is not about, it is never about any of us being broken. It is always some trigger or something, some trauma, some shit life syndrome that is driving issues with our mental health. And we need to question that. We need to question that and we need to resolve those. If they can be resolved, we either need to resolve or help heal and comfort what they are. But there's some stuff, for example, that young girl's story, where as a society, we have a responsibility to help people. In my humble opinion. So that was the thought that sprang to mind, and I wanted to share it. Because I think it is important I think it is always important to share this stuff. This is part of showing up and owning up. This is part of seeing the truth in life. And this is how change happens. This is how change happens, by opening our eyes. So, yes, I will stop there. Thank you for listening. Take care. Lots of love.